Hello, everyone, and welcome to BTNE, or Beyond the Naked Eye. Today, I'm going to be discussing some of the controversy surrounding the Oregon school shooting and some of the statements that have been released by presidential nominees, politicians, and so forth. Also, I'm going to touch on some of the aspects of mental illness, gun control, and things of that nature. But before we get too much into that, um, one of the first things that I want to discuss is that the statements that were released by Mike Huckabee, Donald Trump, and President Obama. Now, Mike Huckabee and also Ben Carson as well. But Mike Huckabee and Ben Carson basically from the beginning have made this an issue about mental health. It's never an issue of we need stricter gun laws or we need more gun control. It's all about mental health, and it's all that these individuals have all had some sort of mental health issue. Well, to an extent, they're right, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But before we do, I want to say that Donald Trump also made the statement that you need an assault rifle because if the other person has an assault rifle, then you basically want to even the odds, which is a ridiculous argument for gun control to begin with. President Obama released a statement that said prayer is not enough. And I think that that was a very powerful statement, and it took a lot of guts for him to say that, especially in this day and age when everything seems to be centered around religion and prayer and things like that. And it, to an extent, he has a good point and a valid point that prayer does not seem to be helping when it comes to school shootings, mass shootings, things like that. It's definitely not going to help us when it comes to gun control or when it comes to the laws and the rules that we try to enforce or the laws we try to pass. Nearly every school shooting for the last 20 years has all had the same thing in common. And that is that all of these individuals that have committed, most all of them, that have committed these mass shootings have all been on some type of antidepressant or some type of antipsychotic drug. Now, we're talking Paxil, Wellbutrin, Prozac, Zoloft, even some of the children that committed some of these crimes, these school shootings, were taking things like Ritalin, behavior drugs, and things like that. So I think that it would be invalid to say that this is a mental health issue more than it is a gun control issue. Now, what we need to do is we need to come to the conclusion and come to the agreement that it's both. We have both. We have gun control and mental health issues in this country that need to be addressed. And one of those main issues is that Republicans get all up in the air whenever it comes to this type of thing, whenever you bring up gun control, because they look at it as when you say gun control, you're saying you're going to come and take our guns. That's not what anybody wants, and I don't think that that's what anyone's saying. And then on the flip side, you have Democrats who want to say that all guns need to be outlawed and all guns need to be banned. That will never happen. There will never be a nationwide ban on firearms. So I think that for either side to argue that, or for that to be a basis or a point for arguing over these types of incidents, is just completely disrespectful to the victims and to the families and everyone else that's had these horrible been part of these horrible incidents. Now, what we need someone to get to the root of the problem. We need someone to say, okay, what we've been doing before when it comes to gun control has not been working. And one of those main issues is concealed carry and open carry and things like that. Now, these have all been problems here in Arkansas that I know of. And I've also seen some incidents in Texas and Kentucky, even places like that where they give them this notion that, or they get this idea in their head that they're going to walk around with an AK-47 strapped to their chest, or a assault rifle strapped to their chest when they go in Sonic or McDonald's or any restaurant, where there's children and where there's people that, and the main thing is that I'm a gun owner. I do own firearms, but what we as gun owners have to understand is that everyone doesn't feel the same way that we feel and believe the same way that we believe. The fact is that there are people here in this country and everywhere in the world that when they're sitting down enjoying a meal, they don't want to look up and see you come in with a gun on your side or gun strapped across you. I mean, there's no point. There's no reason for it. It makes people uncomfortable. Not guns in general make people uncomfortable, but the fact that they're in a public place and that they're giving you an inch with this concealed carry or with this open carry, and you're basically taking way more than a yard. I mean, that's just beyond belief that some people would even do that. And then when these people are arrested or these people are told that they can't come back in, then all of a sudden it becomes a news story. That's not a news story. That's some idiot who went in with a assault rifle on a sling walking into a store. And it honestly it needs to stop, because it's gonna screw everything up for the rest of us. So, but no, I got a little off track. So the mental health issue, and I think that part of this is being ignored. I think that the issue of the medication, the issue of mental health in general, is being ignored by a lot of people. Now, some really interesting facts that I came across was Eli Lilly, Pfizer, GlaxoSmithKline, Forest Labs. These are the manufacturers of all these drugs. It's Prozac, Zoloft, Paxil, Wellbutrin, and Celexa. These antidepressants and antipsychotic drugs. One of the interesting things that I came across was, and this is all on the internet. I mean, this is easily accessible. Anyone can look this stuff up. This is not classified documents or anything like this. That's Eli Lilly donated in 2014. They donated over $9 million. Pfizer donated over $11 million. GlaxoSmithKline donated $5 million, in excess of $5 million. Forest Labs donated over $200,000 to. Now, this is lobbying and political contributions to specific candidates. Now, the interesting thing is, and this is what I want you guys to remember, all these companies, if you look at their donations and who they donated to, this is not, normally you have a company that says, okay, I like this candidate and I want to support this candidate, I want this candidate to be president. So they donate money to their campaign, or they donate money to, to lobbying or things like that for this particular candidate. Now, this is not the case with these pharmaceutical companies. They donate to Republican and Democrat, Independent. They donate to just about everyone. They donated to Mitt Romney and Obama, both when they were running for president. Now, if that doesn't say that your votes are for sale, I don't know what does. They're donating to both sides. They're paying both sides so that they will cover themselves and make sure that the laws and everything that is passed in the House and Senate goes and is swayed in the votes are swayed in their favor. So you can look at the breakdown. I mean, this is thousands of dollars that these people are getting, and the Speaker of the House, for instance, got over. Since 2006, he has received almost $250,000 from these pharmaceutical companies. He's one of the highest paid, and the pay scale goes from the Speaker of the House on down to even these no-name representatives and congressmen that you really never hear of. And if you look at it, it's all a level of importance. It's how important is this person and how much say do they have, and those are the people that are paid the highest. So that's something else that we need to look at as far as the votes and everything being bought, and this type of thing being swept under the rug. They don't want to talk about mental illness. They don't want to talk about mental health because it's going to take the focus off of what they're trying to do, and it's going to take the focus off gun control, and it may even bring the focus to how much are you getting paid to vote this way or to vote that way. So stop putting people in office and stop electing these people that are going to go in here and vote for tax breaks and vote for lax enforcement of these laws for pharmaceutical companies. These companies there were classified documents that were released from these companies that said that they were covering up basically that these drugs contributed to suicidal thoughts, to suicide, to violent behavior, all these types of things. And these are the same companies that the people that you are electing and the people that you are voting for are going in and they're giving them this freedom to do these things and to get away basically with murder and contributing to deaths and suicides of all these people. So that's something for you to think about. Now, what I did find interesting was that out of all of the people that I researched through all these major pharmaceutical companies, the only person that I couldn't find that took any donations or any type of money from any of these people was Bernie Sanders. Hillary Clinton took it. Obama, Mitt Romney, both the House speakers and majority leaders, all these people, they all took money from pharmaceutical companies. They participate in fundraisers to raise money for these companies and all of this. I mean, it's all tied in together. So, but what we need to do is sit down and say, we have to go 50-50. We have to stop putting the mentally ill on the back burner. We have to stop incarcerating mentally ill people, because incarcerating them and giving them guns is not an answer to the mental health problem. It is easier in this country to obtain a firearm, to go and buy a gun from a gun store, buy it legally, than it is to go and put tags on your vehicle. Now, that's something I think that everybody really needs to think about. So just remember before you go out and you go and vote that these are the issues that you need to be looking at. You need to look at, not does this candidate say that he believes in God or that he supports gun control or that he does any of this, because the question that we need to be asking is, does this candidate want what's best for the country, and does he want what's best for me and for my family? And the problem is, you don't want him going into office with the types of attitudes that some of these candidates have. School security is a major issue, and I think it's something that all these candidates need to be addressing. We send our kids to school. A lot of them, I know in my children's school, they basically rely on the police department to do security or to answer the calls and things like that when that happens. But some schools have 6 full-time resource officers. But every school needs some type of law enforcement or armed security guard. Now, a good idea for this would be, we have a lot of veterans that are out of work. So this could be something that our veterans could, of course, take part in. But that's a whole nother discussion. We guard our jewelry stores. We guard our elected officials. All of these with guns. I mean, it's heavily armed people. You go in to buy a wedding ring at a high-end jewelry store, and you are going to see an armed security guard with a gun standing at the door waiting for you. When you come in. And it's shocking to me that we don't give our children, which are probably the most valuable thing in this country right now, because that's the future. That's where we're headed, and we're losing children and innocent people at an alarming rate. And it's easy for these candidates to come up and use these as political soapboxes, if you will. I mean, they stand up here and they preach about gun laws, and they preach about how we need to crack down on guns and mental illness and all this other stuff. But the problem is, they wait until we have had a school shooting. They wait until we've had a mass killing like this. And then they come out of the woodwork and they say, you know what, we need stricter gun control laws. We need this and we need that. Instead of going around and campaigning for people who are being forced out of office for not marrying gay couples, or instead of going around and fighting for people who don't believe the same way that you believe to be persecuted, or whatever the case is, we need to be concentrating on survival and taking care of us first, of taking care of our children and taking care of the innocent people that cannot take care of themselves. These are people that, more than anything, deserve to be able to go into a school or go into their job or go into wherever, to shop even, because there's been mass killings at stores. We deserve to be able to go somewhere and feel safe. We deserve to be able to go in somewhere and say, I'm going to shop, or I'm going to go in here and learn, or I'm going to get my education or whatever, without having to worry about some person coming in there and shooting up the school. An all-out ban on weapons will not solve this problem. Stricter gun control laws and better care for the mentally ill is going to be the answer. It's not a more thorough background check, because mentally ill people can pass a background check. I mean, what we need to do is tie that into the system, where when they come up, if there's ever been any hospitalization, if there's ever been any treatment for mental illness, then if they're taking any of these types of medications, these people need to be put on a list so that they cannot purchase weapons. That's what's going to resolve the issue. But we need to start electing people that are going to take action, and not electing people that are going to use this for their political agenda to try to get votes, or to try to get views on YouTube or Facebook or any of that, to try to promote their agenda, because it's all about money in the end. The more views they get, the more clicks they get, and all of that. There's no action coming from either side. It's all about political agenda. It's all about getting elected. It's all about getting voted into office. So I think that's something that we really, really need to address. But